The ring light flicked on. He adjusted the angles, chin slightly down, back straight, watch glinting just right on his wrist. Behind him, a carefully curated background. Modern art, warm lights, the illusion of effortless wealth. To his millions of followers, Daniel Cardoza was everything. Charismatic, fashionable, generous, a self-made millionaire influencer. The kind who gave away iPhones on live streams and preached about hustle culture. "Remember," he'd say into the camera, "you are your own brand." What they didn't see, what he never showed, was the door he never opened. The one on a quiet street in a neighborhood with more stray cats than cars. His mother's door. Her name was Elena. A former cleaning lady who raised him alone, working double shifts and packing leftover hotel bread so he wouldn't go hungry. But none of that made it to his feed. To sponsors, Daniel had no roots, no single mom. No small apartment with peeling paint and the faint scent of overboiled beans. He told the story differently. "My parents were entrepreneurs," he once said on a podcast. "My mother passed when I was young. It taught me to live every day with ambition." Elena watched the interview from her kitchen, a cracked screen and flickering Wi-Fi barely keeping the image alive. Her hands trembled as she touched his digital face. She didn't cry, not because it didn't hurt, but because she had grown used to the distance that success builds, one follower at a time. Every month a bank transfer came, more than enough for rent, food, and silence. She never called him during the day. She didn't want to ruin the image. And Daniel? He told himself it was better this way. Fewer questions, cleaner brand. But at night, he sometimes scrolled through old texts and stopped at her name, never pressing send, because deep down he knew no amount of curated content could hide the truth forever. The agency meetings became more frequent. So did the NDAs. Daniel's team, 4 managers deep, controlled every word he said, every post he published, every brand he touched. One misstep and the empire could crumble. "Authenticity sells," one PR rep reminded him, "but not your kind of authenticity." He laughed. They all did. That week, a luxury brand offered a 7-figure campaign. One condition, a family-centric video to show his roots. They wanted photos, childhood memories, a touching, relatable angle. Daniel froze. There were no polished photos from his childhood, just one wrinkled, faded picture. Him at 5 years old, sitting on his mother's lap, both smiling under a ceiling fan held up by duct tape. He told the team he'd find something usable. Instead, he flew to Barcelona and filmed in a rented villa with paid actors. A woman with soft features and an accent just believable enough played the role of mom. The video went viral. "You made me cry," one follower commented. "I wish I had a mother like that." Elena saw the video too. She didn't say anything. She just sat down that evening and opened the album where she kept his school drawings. The one that said, in crooked letters, "Mom, when I'm rich, I'll buy you a big house." She lived in the same 2-room flat. Daniel called her that night. She didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "Hey, I've been busy, just checking in. I'll send something next week." But she knew. She wasn't the kind of mother that fit on a billboard. And for Daniel, success had rewritten history, one brand deal at a time. He stood on stages and thanked strong women for raising men like him, but never once said her name. Because in his new world, love had a logo, and silence was the cost of staying on trend. There was one night Daniel never forgot, not because it happened, but because it didn't. His mother had sent a message a week before. "Your cousin's wedding is on the 18th. We'd love to see you, no pressure." He read it during a campaign shoot for a watch brand in Milan. The photographer told him to look eternally grateful. He smiled for the camera, then muted the message. The wedding came and went. He posted a carousel from a rooftop soiree in Paris that day. Champagne flutes, velvet jackets. A caption about time being our most valuable currency. Elena didn't write again for a while, but she did send him one last thing, through a family friend. A handwritten invitation to dinner. Just her. No occasion. Just dinner. Inside the envelope she'd included a photo of Daniel as a teenager, frying eggs in their tiny kitchen. His hoodie had a rip near the sleeve. He was laughing. The caption on the back said, "You were happiest when things were simplest." Daniel kept the invitation on his desk for 3 days. Then it disappeared under paperwork. The dinner never happened. By then, Daniel's image was a well-oiled machine. Brand partnerships, speaking gigs, the humble millionaire persona, and behind it all, a silence he'd learned to monetize. But silence, when it echoes from home, sounds different. It was during a podcast interview, one meant to boost his personal brand, that a journalist asked, "You talk a lot about resilience. Where does yours come from?" He opened his mouth, then paused. "My mother," he said finally. "But I don't talk about her much." The host smiled. "Why not?" Daniel smiled back. "Because even with millions of followers, some truths don't trend." Elena's world was quiet. Too quiet. She stopped watching Daniel's interviews, she muted his social media, but she still clipped every magazine cover he appeared on and tucked them into a drawer beside her bed. A drawer full of someone else's son. One day, a luxury sedan pulled up outside her modest apartment building. A man in a suit stepped out, young, polished, unnervingly polite. He handed her a beige envelope and said, "Mr. Vale wants you to be comfortable. No media, no photos, just privacy." Inside was a legal contract and a check. A very large check. The contract was clear. No public statements, no interviews, no mention of familial relationship. There was no signature line for Daniel, just for her. Elena sat in silence, the check trembling in her hand. She didn't sign it, not that day, but the gesture spoke louder than any clause. Daniel was protecting something, but it wasn't her. He was protecting his brand. A brand that couldn't afford a mother who still worked part-time cleaning offices. A mother who didn't know how to smile on cue or curate her grief for the algorithm. A month later, Daniel was featured on the cover of Modern Legacy. Headline, "From Nothing to Everything, Daniel Vale's Rise Without a Safety Net." The article mentioned his humble beginnings, but skipped any names, especially hers. Elena didn't cry. Instead, she boxed up the childhood photos and letters he'd once sent from college. She mailed them to his management office with a note. "Returned to sender. I don't think he lives here anymore." She knew he'd read it, and that it would hurt, but she also knew something deeper. She hadn't lost her son to poverty, she had lost him to performance. And even wealth can't pay the price of pretending not to know your own mother. Daniel's fame kept growing. Collabs with global brands, red carpet invites, private jets, interviews titled, "What Makes Daniel Vale So Real?" But he wasn't sleeping. At night, the silence echoed louder than the applause. He avoided mirrors, not because of his looks, but because he feared who was looking back. Then came the campaign. A major fashion label wanted a Mother's Day special. The theme? The woman behind the man. They insisted. Real stories, raw emotion, authenticity. A perfect fit for the version of Daniel he portrayed. His manager called. "We'll find an actress, someone who looks warm, graceful. You don't need your situation complicating the brand." Daniel agreed. Photos were taken. A staged moment. Fake mother brushing fake lint off his designer jacket. He smiled for the camera. The caption read, "Everything I am, I owe to her." Millions liked it. Thousands cried in the comments. Elena never saw the post. She had deleted all social media. But one of her neighbors brought her a magazine, proudly pointing. "Isn't this your son?" She looked, stared, blinked once. "No," she said, "that's someone else's." Back in his penthouse, Daniel sat staring at the comments, at the love pouring in for a woman who didn't exist, for a version of himself that was entirely manufactured. He tried to call his mother. No answer. He tried again and again. Finally, the line picked up, just long enough to hear her say, "Your voice used to sound like home. Now it sounds like a press release." And then, click. He stared at his phone. It wasn't just guilt anymore. It was grief. Because you can ghost a parent for the world, but eventually you learn the world doesn't love you back when the cameras are off. It was a Tuesday night when Daniel drove back to the old neighborhood. No cameras, no stylist, just him and a bottle of wine he didn't know how to pronounce. Something expensive, something he thought might make a difference. Elena opened the door slowly. She hadn't expected him. She didn't say much, just stepped aside. The house smelled like fried onions and rosemary. There were 2 plates on the table. "You always hated eating alone," she said. He sat. They ate mostly in silence, except for the clink of silverware and the ticking clock on the microwave. No curated playlists, no filtered lighting, just the sounds of time passing. Halfway through the meal, Daniel reached into his coat. "I brought something," he said, sliding over a small velvet box. She didn't touch it. "Another apology in the shape of jewelry?" she asked, eyes never leaving her food. "No," he said. "It's the watch you sold, the one Grandpa left you. I tracked it down. She looked up, and for a moment she didn't look angry, just tired. I sold it to feed you, she said, not so you could buy it back and feed your guilt. Daniel's throat tightened. I'm sorry, Mom. For what? She asked. For hiding me? For choosing your followers over your family? Or for showing up now because the guilt became louder than the applause? He couldn't answer, because all of it was true. They finished eating in silence, and when she got up to clear the plates, she paused. Leave the box, she said. Not because I want the watch back, but because I want to remember what love shouldn't look like. Daniel left it on the table. As he walked out into the night, the streetlights flickered, and for the first time in years, he felt small, like a child who had finally run out of excuses. The video announcing his hiatus for mental health got 3.4 million views. Comments flooded in. You're so brave. Take your time. Come back stronger. But none of them knew what he had actually paused. Not a brand deal. Not a tour. But a funeral. Elena died quietly 2 weeks after that dinner. A neighbor found her. Daniel was tagged in the obituary post, his name misspelled. He didn't cry at the funeral. There were cameras after all. He wore sunglasses too big for his face and a black suit tailored too sharply. No one asked why the casket was closed. No one questioned the absence of eulogies. After the service, he scrolled through his mentions in the car. The photo of him placing a rose got 500,000 likes, but his brother didn't like it, because his brother wasn't there, because he didn't have one, because he'd erased everyone. The mansion felt colder that night, echoing. Even the click of his designer shoes sounded apologetic. He went live one last time. No filters, no music, just his voice. My mom died, he said, and I made her feel like she already had, years ago. He ended the stream after 42 seconds. The comments were still coming when he shut off his phone. And in the silence, he finally looked at the only photo he kept of them, her holding him as a baby, at a bus stop. She was smiling, teeth crooked, hair undone, and it was the only picture that ever made him feel like he belonged to something. He uploaded it. No caption. The platform glitched, no likes showed for an hour, and in that quiet delay, Daniel realized what peace might feel like. Not applause, not forgiveness, just the absence of pretending. Daniel stopped posting. No farewell video, no dramatic goodbye. The brand sponsors sent polite emails. The agency called once, then twice. Eventually, they stopped too. He moved out of the mansion and into a quiet rental near the coast. No gate, no valet, no marble. Just a one-story house with creaking floors, a crooked fence, and a small garden. There, he started writing letters. To no one in particular. Just thoughts he never shared with his mother. One of them read, I spent years trying to be loved by strangers and forgot how to love the only person who knew my real name. He found her old notebooks filled with grocery lists and prayers. On the back of one she had scribbled, Daniel's birthday. Always smile, even if we can't afford cake. He framed that list. His followers assumed he'd vanished, but a local shelter saw him twice a week, donating quietly. A school librarian knew him as the man who asked for children's books in his mother's language. And once a month he sent flowers to the nurse who cared for Elena in her last days. Always unsigned, always white. No viral video captured any of that. And that was the point. Years later, someone found his old profile again. The account had been inactive for so long it felt haunted. Just one post remained, the photo of him and his mother. It had one comment, home. No one knows who wrote it. Maybe Daniel himself. Maybe someone who knew what it meant to inherit silence and to turn it into something else. Not apology, just a better ending.